This is Grilled by the Staff Canteen. I'm Cara Houchin, editor of the Staff Canteen, and in this episode, sponsored by Essential Cuisine, I went to Ikoyi. This podcast was recorded live with Michelin-starred chef Jeremy Chan at the restaurant in between service, so please allow for the noise of setup going on around us. Jeremy is a really interesting chef. He's bold and unapologetic in his approach to food, and last year it earned him a star, a satisfying reward for a restaurant that had looked like it was going to close. He may cook with West African ingredients, but it is not a West African restaurant, a preconception Jeremy would love to see change. I took the opportunity to really find out what makes him and Ikoyi tick. To start with, not everyone will have heard of Ikoyi, not everyone will know what it's about. So if you had to describe it in like 3 or 4 words, like what would you say? Like what is Ikoyi to you and to people? What do you want them to think of when they come to you?
Passionate, loving, creative.
Okay, cool. And then obviously West African ingredients, but you don't want to be known as a West African
I don't want to call it anything.
Restaurant.
I'm done.
So, yeah.
I'm not calling it anything from now on, and I'm actually just going to, whoever tells me that I should call it something. As soon as you call it something, you kill it.
Yeah.
For me, that's like the death of the creative process. And people are stop being so silly, just call it something. Well, no, because when you call it something, you really limit your scope. Like, if I call it a modern West African restaurant, or everyone that comes from West Africa is going to have so many like preconceived ideas of what that should and shouldn't be. And they're going to attach it to they're going to hope to look for things in it. There's an idea attached to that concept, and there are so many standards and specific kind of categories of types of dishes that need to be seen on that kind of a menu in the eye of an audience that is coming to eat that kind of food. So that's why I don't like using that term, because it means people come with all of these kinds of expectations.
But you struggled with that in the beginning,
Yeah,
is that right? I read
exactly.
that you found it people were quite critical and that
Yeah, and it just made me more creative.
Okay.
It made me more like angry, and it fueled me to be more individualistic and to like do something completely original. I was already trying to do something original, and then people were telling me it needs to be called X, it needs to be called Y. Why isn't it like real African food? Or people telling me this is modern African food, and all of these things really started to disturb me, because this isn't true to where my inspiration was coming from.
Yeah.
But this is all quite heavy, all this stuff. But I don't bring this upon the guest. This is just in answer to your question.
Yeah.
I don't bring this heavy stuff onto anyone.
Okay.
But it's just tough running a restaurant, and really I don't want to be like anyone else. Like, there's not a single dish you'll eat on the menu tonight which you can find in any other restaurant in the world, because they all come from inside my brain and my experience, and in a way that's not trying to adhere to a preconceived cooking idea. Or I don't have a mentor, for instance. I don't have someone that I look up to and I'm trying to emulate. I'm not trying to emulate, I'm trying to pioneer an idea, which is a different thing.
People who don't know, you obviously have travelled a lot, like through your childhood and grown up, and so I'm assuming you've got lots of different influences from around the world. But how do you get to this point, to using the ingredients that you're using? Why did you go? I know obviously that you met
my partner, Ire, my business partner. He's an old friend of mine. But he's just like a catalyst to focus the lens on one part of the globe. But that's only one part of the globe which is kind of critiqued and analysed for our menu. But I'm as obsessed with England as I am with Japan or West Africa. Like, England is like the exotic paradise for me, and I love that we're actually like there are all these modern British restaurants in the city that are happy to call themselves modern British. And it's funny, we're not called a modern British restaurant, but we have. I'd say that Ikoyi like swallows everything that's in season, that's in Britain. Like everything, like all the berries, all the incredible fish, all the dry aged beef, all the amazing organic vegetables, and that's just like 15% of like what we're doing. But do you know what I mean? So
I've never heard the UK described at all as an exotic paradise.
Yeah, I'm obsessed.
It's really interesting.
I just think there's so many like great farms in the UK and so much flavour that comes out of the soil here.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but maybe it's something to do with long history of farming and grazing and the weather and, you know, all the Jurassic coastline of the UK, like minerality and whatever, who knows. But I think does produce incredible products. But it's funny, like, we don't spin this as a fish restaurant, even though it is a fish-focused restaurant. But that's only one portion of what it is. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like multifaceted. Like, we take fish extremely seriously, but we don't market it as a fish restaurant or a vegetable restaurant.
No.
But they're all taken in equal depth of serious kind of analysis when it comes to making.
So although the flavours are maybe different to what people are used to, you're very, very seasonal, you're very focused on seasonal produce?
I'd say we call it micro-seasonality. So like when something's in season for 1 week, like sea buckthorn berries, which are growing on a bush in a farm, we only put them on the menu for 1 week. We let what the fishermen have dictate what we put on the menu. We don't say we have to have cod and ling and halibut and blah 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 all the time, and we call like 10 different suppliers trying to get it. We try and just work with the best quality, what's in abundance, what's in season, and what's available. And we don't have a menu, so one table might get hake, another table might get John Dory, one table might get the last piece of John Dory and 3 pieces of pollock.
Okay.
They don't have a choice, and I think that optimizes the quality of each individual experience of the fish that they're eating.
So you're completely blind to know, you don't get any choices at all. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the reaction to that then? What do people think of that?
Some people say really excited about it.
Yeah.
Some people say, well, what if I don't like it? And I just say, well, then you don't like it. It's too bad. But you can order fish and chips at Cafe Rouge and you may not like it.
Yeah.
So you may not like anything that you order. So what's the difference between whether you order it or whether it's being cooked for you by someone who's really put a lot of work into making sure it's the best it can be for the guest. So it's a risk, but I'd say
has it always been like that from the beginning when you opened?
We used to have a la carte.
Okay.
And then no one else came to the restaurant anymore. Partly because of this whole concept branding thing and the fact that the way that I feel like journalism in the UK like always like squirts out all these like new restaurants that like fill gaps in the market, and they're really cool for an instant, and then they just like disintegrate into nothingness and disappear. Suddenly there's a board up on the wall that says closed, and that's it. We were like on the verge of becoming that thing.
Really?
And I think it's many reasons, but one of the reasons is partly, you know, the culture of human beings in cities like London. They just have to be constantly like stimulated with new information, new material. So what we would perceive to be was like very much a fad type item that was very stimulating for a moment, and then what's the point in going back? We've already seen what it's like. Whereas what's actually taken place over the last 2 years at Ikoyi are thousands of iterations of dishes and ideas, many recipes, many ideas, many types of ingredients, like so much transformation and metamorphosis in 2 years that's gone on this restaurant, which some restaurants will never see in their entire life. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we pushed it, like so many beautiful dishes have come through this kitchen, and so yeah, I think it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's sad, but I think that the media doesn't really like delve back into like complex restaurants like ours. They just kind of, but I'm grateful that you're doing this, because this is helping me. I'm talking more like the kind of publications that the everyday person reads. But anyway, so yeah, we did our carte and no one came, and then when the restaurant looked like this, and there would be like one table in the middle, and they would order like a snack which was like £5.
How does that feel as a
drink.
chef though, to stand there and see that? Like,
It made me so angry. It made me hate the city, resent it, and it made me think like, why like all the masses drawn towards mediocrity? Like why is like media and like journalism, like not all journalism but popular journalism, like steering like mass culture towards mediocrity? You know what I'm saying? Like constant like churning of mediocrity. And in your city you've got like young entrepreneurs trying to do something like special for the city, for culture, and just like I was like, how can we not get more than like 5 guests in this tiny restaurant, with something so original?
It's been very frustrating.
Very frustrating, especially because we had such good produce and so much love went into it. But then again, like, we can't have a chip on our shoulder, and the world doesn't owe us a living. So I also aware of that. It wasn't like I didn't think that the world owed it to me. I just thought it was a bit of a shame and a bit sad.
Yeah.
So then I got really angry, and I was like, fuck this, I'm gonna do a tasting menu, and I'm gonna go down with the best menu that exists in this city, and create like a crazy good menu that no one has a choice, so that if they did get 2 guests that come in, they're forced to eat like an amazing meal rather than just choosing one little snack, Anyway, that's it.
But yeah, I love it. I think it's a really brilliant. So, although no one knows what's coming, you must know what you want to put. How important is like the menu, kind of the order of the menu that
extremely
comes out?
important.
Yeah.
We have a pre-aligned structure. We have a 7-serving menu, which is super easy going. It's like 2 snacks, a fish course, a vegetable course, a meat course, a rice course, and a dessert. It's a very complete meal. It's based on the structure of a meal that I would like to eat, but broken down into 7 servings. Like, if I were to eat a nice meal, I would want some vegetables, for a special occasion, maybe something to like stimulate my palate, a couple of snacks. I'd obviously want some meat. I'd want some really high quality vegetable serving, and then a little dessert. So that short tasting menu is geared towards providing people with like a complete meal. Then we have the 9-serving menu, which allows people to kind of try a couple more things which are like really in season and like really special. And to be honest, I think most people should get the 9 if they're coming here, because the 7 is really good. But if you're going to come and eat at Ikoyi, try everything. Yeah. Because I don't know when you're going to be back, but it's important to give the people the option to choose price range, because obviously we charge £75 and £100, which is not cheap. It is extremely good value for money for the level of produce we're using and where we are. So I hope that it's the most democratic it can be. And then we do a lunch menu for £35, which is like for anyone that just straight up doesn't want to spend that much money and wants to get a taste for what we do. I think £35 is very reasonable for 4 servings, especially if you come and see like what we do with the food. It's like you could go to, I don't know, like a really corporate chain and spend £35 easily, and no one gives a shit about what they're doing in that kitchen. And then we do another menu, which is basically like when people just want to like really try everything. It's just like kind of like an extended menu. It's just up to us. It could be 12, 15 servings. It could be like whatever, really. But it's really designed to like give the guests like the best of what we have. Like, anyway, that's it.
And so obviously we talked about how you changed the menu because of everything that went on. So it must have been quite satisfying when you got your star. And did you feel like all that anger that you channeled into changing the way that you were was coming to kind of fruition?
It was pretty satisfying. It was bringing us back from the brink of death, and like I felt like I was holding a baseball bat and I was like destroying things. That's how I felt inside as I was coming to work and like cooking and like just like taking no prisoners and just like making sure it was like the best it could be. It was a very good training experience, like training for the team, and like I've got such an amazing team, like, and the way that we work is we're like a little family. Like there is a hierarchy, obviously I'm the head chef, but like they're like my family. Like there's no like weirdness between us. There's no like kitchen bullshit in our kitchen. There's none of that crap. It's like it's just super like human. Like we treat each other like human beings. We don't even have to have those discussions of how one should have to behave in a kitchen. They're just good people working here. And
I think it's very inspiring that you did that you changed everything, and that you were like, no, this this is gonna work, and I'm gonna do it
Yeah,
my
believes
way.
in it,
And
yeah.
so for other chefs who are like, this is what I want to do, I don't want to change so that it suits other people. It must be. It's just very inspiring to hear for them.
Yeah, I'm hoping more people do that, because so many people like waste so much food by having so many things on their menu and having so much choice on their menu. They waste so much food, and things aren't always great. With our blind menu, no menu, you really are getting like the best of what we can provide for you. We won't send anything that's like, it's so our product in the kitchen is so tiny. Like we try and every single day everything's fresh because there's no storage in the kitchen. I find that really exciting, the amount of energy that the food has, how alive everything is, because it's not been sitting in our fridges for more than one day.
Yeah. So talk us through, 3 ingredients that you're kind of cooking with now, why you're using them, and what sort of like the dishes are that they are part of.
We're using some aged hake.
Okay.
Hake has been aged for 2 weeks, like meat, which you're not going to eat tonight, because I just think it's interesting and I don't think it's delicious enough. It's good, but it's something we're working with today.
Yeah.
You're asking me what I'm working with today?
Yes, yeah.
So we're working with this aged hake, and it's going to go on the menu somehow, but we've also got pollock, we've also got john dory, all in different quantities. So this is our line caught fish that's caught same day, and hopefully we get rid of it all in the same day, except our little experiment with hake, which we're doing a 2-week age with.
Why did you want to start aging?
Just to see whether it was worth, it was just the exercise, to see whether the exercise was worth the trouble, and whether it actually improves anything to do with fish. Just to kind of understand that, whether does it actually improve flavour and texture. I'd say like the flavour's sort of the same, but a little bit creamier texture. But it's not the same as meat, where animal meat really benefits from long aging. It really denatures it, and it really breaks it down, it really brings out flavour. With fish, there's something, that phrase, fresh fish, is there for a reason. I don't think it should be aged fish. I think it's just cool and kind of chefy to do it.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to do it anymore, because I love the vibrancy of like fresh flesh that's like still kind of bouncy and from the ocean, you know what I mean? Like,
and so another ingredient that you're working with?
Badger flame beets.
Okay.
These are beetroots that have been developed by a scientist, Erwin Goldman, at the University of Wisconsin, who grew these beetroots to remove geosmin, which is a microbe that gives the earthy, irony taste of beetroots.
Yeah.
He grew them selectively to produce only sugary flavors. So they're awesome. Yeah. Imagine eating beetroots that don't taste of like earth. They taste just of like wine gums.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what's the dish that they're like?
We make a mousse with the beetroots. So we steam them, and then we blend them with peppercorn infused milk and some dried potatoes. Okay. And then we serve them with some of this candied beetroot and caviar, so smoked oil and sea buckthorn berries.
Sounds good.
Yeah. It's good.
I'm intrigued by that. Yeah. I've never heard of those before.
Yeah, it's really cool dish. And then the third ingredient that we're using, we're using nazu eggplants. Okay. You should get the long menu. You can try all this. This is good. This eggplant, it's really good. It's eggplant is a Japanese variety, and we confit it in beef fat. So we peel them, and then we slow cook them in beef fat. And then we make a glaze which has bee larvae garum, which is a bee larvae that's been fermented to produce profoundly like meaty taste. And we made our miso with an African variety of pea, called the field pea. So it's a field pea miso blended with bee larvae garum, malted barley, honey, and African palm wine. So it tastes like have you ever had miso aubergine?
I don't think I have.
Nasu denkagu. It's a traditional Japanese dish of miso, mirin, sake, maybe some sugar, glazed onto charred eggplants. So it's like a very sweet, sugary, umami, salty eggplant. Ours is a African miso with African wine and malted barley honey glaze, spiked with this bee larvae garum, which the Noma fermentation kitchen sent to us.
Right, okay. I mean, it's a fascinating list of ingredients that you're throwing at me. Like, my head is exploding. I'm trying to take them all in. And do you have a favourite ingredient that is West African? I don't want to go down that route too far, but there must be
there's so many ingredients. Plantains.
That you so
Scotch bonnet chilies, the peppercorns.
That you love, that maybe chefs in the UK don't use, and that you think they should use more of. That it should be.
Yeah, they should definitely look at the spice cabinet of a West African kitchen. The spices are incredible. There's so much flavour. There's so much heat. There's so much personality. There's so much umami. There's so much character to these ingredients. And the vegetables as well, like cassava, which is like a tuber. It's a starchy tuber. There's so many different applications. It's like potato, but made much starchier. You can make it very crispy. You can make it very soft. You can make it very gooey. You can do so many different things with cassava. And then plantains as well. They're such a humble ingredient. Like, everyone eats plantains around the world. It's particularly in all across Africa, Brazil, Venezuela, Colombia. But there's so many communities now in Europe and London and America that eat plantains. So plantains have kind of crossed the globe, really. And they're an awesome ingredient. They have such sweetness, but they're also very starchy, with a lot of umami in them. They can be bitter when they're underripe. They can be super sweet, and to me, they're like one of the perfect sweet, savoury ingredients. Like, they can bring out so much savoury, meaty flavours while being sweet at the same time, naturally in themselves.
Talk us through kind of the different cooking techniques and plating techniques that maybe you use that are synonymous with you guys, that say a lot about you. I'm sure you have lots of different techniques that you've taken from all different areas of the world, but is there any that you love doing, or that maybe are a little bit different to what other chefs in other kitchens are doing?
I do a lot of cold brew dashes. So rather than making stocks by boiling and simmering things for ages, I actually do cold infusions of seaweed and dried mushrooms and vegetables, like teas, overnight. That's a really nice technique to make seaweed stocks, which we do cold infusion overnight. Those cold stocks are the base for some of the sauces that we have. I do a lot of vegetable and kind of plant-based sauces that go with meat. So a lot of restaurants use a meat jus to glaze the meat, whereas here we'll use something that has a seed or nut-based, with the seed as the protein, and the liquid in that will be a very vegetable, seaweed infused stock, and the fat will come from the nuts as well. So you're getting depth and meaty flavors, but they're not coming from the meat. The meat is the meat, and the sauce is something to enhance it, to complement it. I started getting really into cheese. I would never produce my own cheese because there's so many great cheesemakers, and I guess at the moment I'm just a chef, so I couldn't do it to the level I'd want to and run a kitchen. So
maybe when you retire you can make cheese.
I fell in love with blue cheese though recently. And so we use Colston Bassett from Neal's Yard Dairy in our main course sauce. So that's one of the things we're serving blue cheese with beef. That's what is that? That's just a good combination, right? And that's what I mean about labeling. When you're in an African restaurant and you put blue cheese in a sauce, they're like, what the hell are you doing here? It's I'm really into grilled cheese sandwiches as a thing that I do outside of work. Most people are, I just love them. And I've been thinking of making a grilled cheese serving on the menu.
Amazing.
Just incorporating more silly dishes in this menu that have a tremendous amount of technique and thought that goes into them, all for the goal of giving the guests this really great experience of the sandwich.
Yeah. All these different flavours and techniques that you kind of are playing with and having fun with, there must have been some dishes along the way that you thought, oh, that's great, and then it's created it and gone, oh God, no, that's terrible.
Not once.
Have you got one?
Not once in
No,
2 years.
not one.
No.
Not one at all.
Not one. I never trial any dish. I don't believe in a development kitchen because to me that's just food waste.
Yeah.
It just means like, and it's also like, for me there's no like excitement in that because it's like making the same shit over and over and over again and like tasting. Is this where it takes the love out of cooking, which is like which is like risky and like bold and like, and I don't want to waste product trying to convince myself that something's delicious. The way I do it is I just ponder over it myself.
Okay.
I just don't really talk to anyone, and I think about it for a very long time, and then I write the recipe and we put it on the menu, and I won't even try the thing. I've never eaten a dish in its entirety. I will never eat any of my food. I just will taste components, and then I put the thing together. So
that's fascinating. So you would never sit and eat your own dish?
Absolutely not, never.
No.
It'd be like cannibalizing my own child.
Why? I'm trying to understand why.
Just in case it's like I'm so disgusted with it, I quit my job and never cook again.
Right, okay. Because it kind of goes against everything. Like most chefs, you like taste everything and make sure everything. Like I taste things. But I mean, as a complete.
Nah. For me, it's like sitting in the theatre and like watching yourself suck really badly. Because I like to push myself and I like to think I can do better, and I feel like I'm afraid of like sitting down because I have got such a like, I don't know, I just have such a kind of obsessed eye that I will always find mistakes and things, and like so I guess I just keep a distance.
Okay.
And
do you not think finding those mistakes, as you call them, would then improve the dish? Because you'd be like, oh well, if I just did this, then that would maybe.
Well, I taste the components, so I know what what things are, but no, that's not how I work.
No.
I allow everyone else to tell me what they think in the kitchen, and I just, as long as like the overall consensus from the like thousands of guests that come through the door are like, that was mind-blowing. If I have enough of those, I've never eaten that in my life, like level of feedback, and if I can see like extreme happiness emanating from humans from doing it, then I'm okay, and I know it's going right. And occasionally if someone says like it wasn't for me, that's fine, but usually it's like this, the reaction is like very strong, so it kind of has to be like that for me. Like I can't really be too like nitpicky, because this isn't art, but like it's kind of like a painting. Like when you've done it, it's like there. So you've made these decisions. Like it's about taking a position, like having a view, and like. But I am I do like fluctuate. Like if the guys in the kitchen say like this isn't quite working, like this, like we always like alter things. Yeah. But not much. That you can ask them like, what's it like working with these recipes? Are they accurate? Like they're really, really like to the ground.
And so, where do you go to eat then, and what like inspires you? Like, are you very critical of other? Clearly, you're quite critical of yourself. So, are you very critical of other people's?
Absolutely. But if I go out to eat, I'm going out to eat just to have a good time. I'm not going out to critique anyone. Yeah. I would never critique anyone ever, unless they ask me to. Okay. If someone asks me to critique, I will critique. But otherwise, I'm going to enjoy everything. I enjoy anything. Like I can eat whatever. Like I'm not fussy. But I don't get that much time to eat out. And when I do, I just want to eat like simple stuff. I want to eat like Turkish food or like rice. I don't want to go to hot new restaurants.
No, it's not your thing.
It's not my thing. I don't like the interaction. I don't like feeling like something's being sold to me. I just want to switch off and eat some rice and like not think really. Yeah. But being critical, like like that's the thing, is like it can be extremely critical, but only when asked. Otherwise, I won't even switch that on. Keep it off. Always off outside the restaurant. But if someone says, "What did you think of this fish? What did you think of the meal there?" Tell me what you think. I will be completely honest. Like
your dishes, how important is it for them to be as aesthetically pleasing as they are to taste? Is that something that you're really keen on, or
very keen.
Yeah.
I think it's part of this idea of like being the originality and like giving the guests something different, stimulating them in a way that they've never seen before. It's all sensory. It's not just aesthetic. It's the smell. It's the ceramics. It's the lighting. But obviously, the flavor is the most important thing. But I think aesthetics is very close to that as well. Like to have very distinctive like geometry and texture and color, which is what we do. We work on a lot in the kitchen.
Yeah. So what comes first? Do you think of your recipe and then you think about what it's going to look like on the plate, or do you think that's how that would look on the plate and this is what
it's
I
all
want to
formed?
create?
It's all like formed.
Yeah.
Like everything is like formed exactly how I want, like in the brain.
I feel like being in your brain would be fascinating for a day.
And then, I don't know. It's very tiring. Yeah, it's all just formed, and then I'm just like, this is what, and I know exactly what it's going to taste like. I know exactly what I want it to be like. There's no question. Like, it's not like I'm striving towards something. It's like it's there.
Yeah.
It's done. Like it's completely done. Like the visual, like the intensity of it, like the depth of flavor, everything is there. Like, yeah.
So, all of the different flavours and ingredients you've worked with over the years, what's the biggest lesson do you think you've learned in terms of creating a dish, or in terms of flavour combinations? There's something that you think back to, or that's kind of stuck with you?
Learned is, I think, like using fruits. The thing that I've fallen in love with most is like using fruits in savoury dishes. Like I use a lot of fruits, I use fruits and vegetables kind of interchangeably. We're serving strawberries on one of the savoury dishes, smoked strawberry relish with cucumber. I think that's really awesome to think about, like meatiness coming from fruits.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many different things. I think one of the things I learned is that when you blend seeds or nuts at a very high speed for an extended period of time, you can really transform the texture of a sauce.
Okay.
Like if you just blend them for a little bit of time, you get like a pretty smooth sauce, but something about the protein and the fat and the nuts that like really emulsifies over like extreme long periods of time.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of that.
Yeah.
We go through a lot of blenders.
Do you?
We just invested in this new blender. It's called a Waring. It's like an industrial blender. It has like, you won't see it in any other kitchen. It's like enormous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
And clearly you like to keep challenging yourself, so how do you keep doing that? Like, do you ever worry that you're going to get to a point where you're like, with like Ikoyi, where you're like, oh, I can't do anymore, I need to go do something else?
Never. Oh, for sure. I might just get bored.
Yeah.
Just be like, oh, so many ideas. Like when you like obsess over like perfecting things, and doing your idea and like kind of doing them loads of times, maybe you get bored and be like, done it. But you can always get better. You can always learn more. You can always. I think that's just the way I've been brought up, is like to just question like myself, and question the validity of everything, see through the bullshit of everything. That's what makes it a good restaurant, I think. It's like its ability to like transform and metamorphose into like new things, and to like to like push itself like in really extreme ways. To not listen to anyone. That's the best thing about it. It's like just do whatever you want to do.
Because as I say, how do you see it evolving over the next couple of years, or ideally for you, where would you like it to be? And yourself as well as a chef, where do you want to be in the next couple of years? That's always a bonus.
Alive, and I'd like to hone the product to we're getting it. I'd like to just know that we have the absolute highest, like reach the highest point in this country for the kind of produce that we can get access to. Like once we're like consistently doing that, and I think we're almost there. I think I'll be pretty satisfied. I think I'd like to get more local British people to come to the restaurant.
Yeah.
And for them to kind of understand what we do in a bit more depth.
Yeah.
Because we don't really get that kind of audience. We get international people. We don't get anyone from East London. We don't get any guests from our guests are all like international. Like we don't really get British Londoners coming to Ikoyi. It's very like, super like multi-nationality.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I just think the food culture in the UK is very much geared towards like simple like things, and like there's definitely like this like aggrandizement of the simplicity of food in the country, like simple British produce done well, which is great, but no one ever seems to challenge that further, or seek much further. I know they like Indian food, and occasionally Chinese food, but it doesn't get that adventurous, I don't think. But whereas for the international audience, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think you're maybe a little bit too adventurous, or people think you are?
I think they think it's adventurous, but really what it is just like, it's not adventurous, it's just like, it's British produce, just thought of outside the box, and with links to parts of the world which Britain used to colonise. So, I don't know, there's relationship there as well.
So do you feel like you're still kind of pushing down that we're a West African restaurant, or do you think you're getting there now and that's...
No, I don't think we'll get there for a long time.
No.
Until like some like real major like, I don't know, until like a lot of people start rewriting again, like...
Yeah.
Or rethinking it, but we're just a restaurant. We just serve lunch and dinner. They've got better things to do than do that for us. But I think that's where it would be like, if we got to the level of like awareness that we hope, then that would be great. I think we still get people coming in asking me like about my childhood in Nigeria and stuff like that. And so it's just changing people's perceptions.
Yeah.
But I think like restaurants in the future will be more like ours. But if hopefully cultures blend more, maybe that's the reason why. I don't know, Britain like separating itself from Europe, like trying to be more British, trying to be like more kind of singular culture, singular identity, is maybe subconsciously it's championing itself in its own type of food, rather than like incorporating like amongst its own people like international influences. Maybe there's like something under the surface that's something to do with that.
Yeah.
Who knows? But hopefully the world doesn't go in that way, where everyone just like does their own thing and doesn't blend. I think it's important to blend cultures.
We hope you enjoyed this interview, and if you have any comments, feel free to tweet us or comment on the post. We're making all of our interviews available to download. And finally, if you like what we do, whether it's our podcast or our videos or even our features, please head over to our Patreon page and support us there.